Welcome to Season 3, Episode 14 of the Hard Truth Inside the Football Industry podcast with me, Philip Ideson, and Darragh McAnthony, Chairman and Co-owner of Peterborough United. And I want to, first of all, Darragh, say congratulations on another 3 points. You played Cambridge this weekend, so we'll chat a little bit about that. But actually, I want to rewind a little bit because I couldn't help but noticing some pre-match build-up from Mark Bonner, the Cambridge manager. It seems like from an outsider here that emotions were tried to be stirred, perhaps as a way of stoking up an atmosphere at the weekend.
Yeah, look, when we recorded last Monday with Akron and Stanley, which was a tough one on Tuesday, did the job. A few weeks ago or a couple of weeks ago, I said some of the players, the big hitters need to step up and earn their money, and fair play to them, they have. So that's amalgamating with the younger players doing well. Now the more experienced ones, Frankie Kent's probably his best 3 games. Nathan Thompson, superb on Saturday. Dan Butler, a warrior. Those players now are really coming to the forefront, and mixing it in. So, you said to me before we went on the podcast, I think you called him a bell end.
Yeah, I saw it.
You called him a bell end. I can't call another manager a bell end. Do you know what I mean? That was you said that. Look, I saw the comments. One comment was about the atmosphere. I checked into our scouting. I think he'd been to 1 game all season of ours. The second comment was, they're promotion contenders. They say it enough times themselves along those lines. I'm not sure what he was hoping to achieve. I'm not quite. I can't put my finger on it. Let's put it this way. Let's look at 2 managers. My manager, a far superior manager, obviously with his own record. Grant played the game all week like a normal game. Didn't play it down, didn't play it up. It was a normal game. And I think he set the team up that way and everything, which is difficult to do because on Derby Day, whether it's Liverpool, Everton, no matter what the Derby is, league positions go out the window. Derby games just cancel everything else out. And then obviously the Cambridge manager played it a different way. At the end of the day, I don't know what he was trying to do. It didn't work for him. So good luck to him. He's obviously an okay manager. He's done well for them. There was no need to take some of the pot shots he took. I didn't think there was any need for that at all, because if my manager had done it, I would have been really angry, because it's like you're winding up the opposition. You don't need to inflame the opposition. You don't need to motivate them with stupid statements. But look, maybe he'll learn. Who knows? But we move on. It was, carry on.
Yeah, I was going to say, as an outsider, it looked to me like, because, my eyebrows were raised when I read it last week. It was, we know that we can't compete on the field.
That's for sure.
let's try and create something that, that builds into it being a derby. So the atmosphere, so maybe the posh players get nervous. And that's the only way we can beat them, is by them getting nervous because of the atmosphere.
Yeah.
As opposed to, man for man on the field.
Yeah, and look, the atmosphere is incredible, by the way. I mean, our fans were brilliant. And we deserve to win. I mean, yeah, okay, it's 1-0. And it's actually probably better it was 1-0 than 5-0, because it's good for us going forward. It was a good education. Grind a result out, and the going got tough. That's probably going to, stand us in good stead. But we absolutely dominated the game. I mean, if you'd watched the first half, it was like watching a higher league team, play a lower league team who were playing above their level at some stage. And then it became equal in the second half, as it became a grind. It became, it's 1-0. We've missed 3 or 4 one-on-ones. One of our players could have had a hat-trick. It was brilliant, by the way. But the ref was good, and Cambridge played their part in it. They made it a physical battle the last 30 minutes. It was direct. It was everything I thought it would be, and we just grinded it out. I think our goalie made 1 or 2 saves. That was it. He was superb again, and we stood up strong to it. And you didn't want to see either side go down to 10 men. You always feel in a derby it could end up like that. But no, I thought the players played it in good spirits. Forget about the managers, because they're not the stars of the show. It's the players. And it was an own goal, and you take the win. But, I mean, we created so many chances. And Jono played 87 minutes with a ligament gone on his ankle. Early on in the game, he did that in the 5th minute. So fair play to him. He's a warrior. And he'll be fine in the long run, you know what I mean? Probably like a few days or whatever else, and we're waiting for a scan. But no, it was good. And I think most importantly, great home record, really good week, winning away, winning at home, putting some results together, gives us a breather. FA Cup's coming up now. We need the money. Everyone needs the money from the FA Cup, so you take it seriously. But from our perspective, that October has put us where we want to be. I've always said it's a long way to go, but you don't want to get too far away either. Like we had a shitty run But I think now I don't know, is it one defeat in 11, 7, 8 wins out of the 11? It's a good run of form in cups and leagues. So, and what we're seeing more importantly is we're seeing, Harrison Burrows has gone into midfield and flourishing now in his natural role. Mason Clark is in the team and showing that if Ricky's not, fit or not up to it, we've got an adequate replacement. Ricky's bounced back really quickly from an injury, first time in his career. That's important. Poku, again, starting to score goals. The back line are strong. I know everyone likes to dig about us conceding goals, but we've got one of the best defensive records, I think, in the whole of the league. I think we strung us at 2 wins out of 3 away from home. And again, Oxford showed on Saturday they're no mugs. We went and beat them. So all those things are good. And obviously we progressed in the EFL trophy. So it was a solid October. And what you want to see now is some consistency. And you want to see your better players now really put their foot down now over the next kind of 4 or 5 months and put ourselves in that position with 10 games to go where you want to be. And that's always been the goal. And the fitter we get, this time a week ago, I was nervous like 10 days ago where we had like 11 players facing fitness tests. So we've come through the other side of that, showing the physical side, you know what I mean, that we're not pussies, we can get through a tough go over and win away from home and move on and get fit. So no, really, really happy for the fans, really for the fans. The players gave that to the fans. Fans need to remember that. Players dug in there on Saturday, won for them. And our fans will remember that when they need to be behind the players, when the players have a bad game or a stinker. That's the way it works.
They can make a difference.
They can make a massive difference, and they did on Saturday. And yeah, good old Derby. My first one since I've owned the club in the league. Obviously, we played Northampton many a time and won, but, Cambridge is a new one. A couple of my friends are Cambridge United fans, funny enough, that I've known for 20 years, so they were sick as dogs over the weekend. But yeah, all good. What is it they say? Cambridgeshire is blue.
Well, you're keeping the momentum going, which is the most important thing. I think the 3 wins on the bounce now, and we kind of glossed over the 3-1 at Accrington in the week, but Mason Clark got his first goal, and it was a cracker as well. I watched that one. There was a comment on the highlights saying, "I don't know who does the scouting there, but they've done it again with a non-league player." So kudos.
Didn't I tell you guys at Bradford to sign him? Based on what he did to us in pre-season, I said, look, we're a bit stacked at the moment. We still had Sammy, and I think I said at the time, but I give credit to that one to Baz and to the manager. They as they heavily wanted that player, and I was a bit concerned because of, again, non-league, 22, 23. Ideally, you want him at 20. Knew he had ability, but I'm seeing what they've seen. I saw when he destroyed us in the pre-season friendly, but I tell you what I like about this kid. He's an intelligent footballer. When I say intelligent, you get young players nowadays who, brilliant players, but they can't take information on board. So you get a manager who wants to play a certain way, a coaching staff who want to play a certain way, and they can't quite, you need to play here. And when the right back is high, you're low. Just little in-game tactics, if you're playing against a high block or a low block, and where do we want you? And where are you going to play across the 3? And by the way, you got Dan Butler behind you, so you got to support him. Some players can't take all the info on. He's a very intelligent footballer. I actually think he's just going to get better and better and better. Could have had a hat-trick on Saturday. Got himself in like 3 positions that were unbelievable. And I'm feeling very comfortable about that investment that we made. And again, him and Ricky down that side. And you got Poku on the other side. We just need Ajibowie and Randall now to really, pull in there. And we've got 5 of the best wide players. Better than all of that is Harrison Burrows since he's gone into central midfield. He's been a revelation. Probably the best 20-year-old, number 8 in the league. Right. He's playing at a different level.
We've talked about him for a couple of years and his potential.
Yeah, so and he's been playing left back, left wing back. And now he's in, we always saw him morphing into a 10. But the way Grant plays in that formation, he's more like an extra number 8. And the miles he's running per game, he's 3-4 shots a game. He can create goals, score goals. He's 20. So in there with Fuchsie and Jack Taylor, it's like it's energy. It's the energy you need to give that front 3 the platform. So no, listen, it's all good. But again, I never get overexcited. Come back to me. When we've won 10 in a row. But 9 points in a week, a tough week, was a really good result because Accrington and Stanley weren't mugs, by the way. I was really impressed by them, and I know they've got a lot of injury problems. I know they're on a horrible run. I think they lost again on Saturday, but that wasn't an easy one. So to come through the week and knowing mentally the players are thinking about the game on Saturday, and you're 1-0 down against Accrington, again, little building blocks, important ones, come from behind, get a clean sheet, dig out a 1-0, win away from home, all in the space of 7 days. So on we go. Let's get into the cup. And enough about Posh. How did Bradford do?
So we were 1-1 at home to Crawley. And it's probably disappointing. In fact, we drew both of our games. We drew 1-1. We had 2 home games. We drew 1-1 at home to Swindon, which was pretty gutting. We played really well.
Right.
We probably deserved the win for that one. They got one of the most dubious, softest penalties you've ever seen in the 93rd minute. And one of these where ball just gets whipped into the box, hits the defender at top of his shoulder, kind of where his shoulder and arm come together. Referee's looking through a crowd of players, and he gives a penalty.
Bad decision.
And then penalty saved, rebound straight to the penalty taker with an open goal, who puts it in. And so Tuesday was a pretty crappy day after that. Rest of the day on Tuesday because we deserved to win it. And so you're looking at that as a couple of points dropped. And then we had Crawley at home on Saturday, who, are much better than their league table, much like Stockport. They just had an awful start, but I don't expect them to be down the bottom for the rest of the season.
But, I look at it and go, Bradford, Crawley.
I know that one was, we were our own worst enemy.
What happens?
It was I don't know what it was about the playing out, because we're very much a playing out of the back kind of team now with Mark Hughes. Every single time we tried to play out the back, we gave the ball away. We just kept putting ourselves under pressure, and it kept coming back, and we just kept giving it away.
Did they play a high press?
Yeah, and not as high as Stockport did, but they were they were pressing, which put us under pressure. And that's where, a difference between some of the players who are really comfortable on the ball and some who are in positions that probably aren't as comfortable. When they don't have as much space, they start to panic. And that's when the distribution goes.
Mistakes get made.
But everyone was at it. There wasn't like it was just one having a bad day with the ball. They were all kind of struggling. Like even Smallwood was struggling with his distribution, and that's kind of his strong point.
Wow.
So
that's 4 points dropped in 2 home games. Mm-hmm. I mean, you shit the bed at home, you follow up with a win, or you shit the bed away and you win at home. But what is your home record so far this season?
I think we've only won 3 at home this season. Right. So we've had a better record away from home than we have at home so far this season.
Are you scoring enough goals?
No. So there's 2 issues. Issues that we're still, playoff places and
forget about the league. Forget about that. Yeah.
There's 2 issues really. One is all the goals coming from Andy Cook. So there's not really any other goals in the team. It's funny, I was exchanging emails with Ben, your scout, over the weekend about kind of some of the things that he sees.
Yeah.
The other one is still that our tempo isn't good enough.
Right.
So we're not attacking fast enough.
Right.
Which is giving them time to reset, and then it's kind of one-dimensional a little bit. I think that's our main trouble. Now, in terms of playing out the back, I think it was just one of those games where people got panicked. They started to rush and they forgot what they were supposed to do in some ways. And Mark Hughes came out afterwards and said, no team of mine is ever going to play any other way like that. So, you're going to have to get used to it.
Did the fans start booing them when the mistakes get made playing out from the back? Like, oh, fuck. Because I've seen that at our place where it's like, for fuck's sake, get on with it. Get it forward, get it forward.
No, they got booed off at halftime. And then we went 1-0 up, and then 3 or 4 minutes later, direct free kick, 1-1. Wall didn't do its job. And by the end, we probably were lucky to hang on for a 1-1.
Okay, so go back 8 days. Are you feeling a bit less than, emotion-wise, where were you 8 days ago to now?
I think that I see it as a missed opportunity, because you look at the table and 4 more points at home, which arguably we should have got. You're fourth in the league with a game in hand. I still have faith, but there are things that are recurring, from the start of the season, like the tempo thing that I don't think we've fixed yet. So you look at it every week going into a game thinking there's going to be a team that gets a hiding.
Yeah.
But then every week we never actually get close to giving any team a hiding yet. So I just don't think it's properly gelled yet.
Okay, so there's obviously a lot of room for improvement. Your home form needs to obviously up at a notch. And, you seem to be pace setters where you go in front a lot. Would that be right?
Yeah, I think where we struggle is where we don't get the opportunity to do that, and it knocks us off our momentum and kind of knocks us off the game plan. But we do like to go out from the blocks, early and try and control the game.
Right. Have you come from behind much this season? Because obviously good teams, win promotion. I love BBC Cambridgeshire. They threw out a stat against Accrington. We were 1-0 down, and they came up with the old, in the 6 losses, Peter, we've only come from behind once to win. They've lost all the other games. They've gone behind them, and I'm sitting there. It's like 20 minutes into the fucking game. I'm like, for fuck's sake. Anyway, we won the game, but it did bring me back to 2 years ago. I think we were the top team in the EFL. We amalgamated 25 points from losing positions. And that's something you always want to see more of when you do go behind, because that is a sign of a really, really good team of characters. How are you in that statistic?
Yeah, from memory, I don't think we've done very well on that. In fact, to be honest, most of the defeats have come from winning positions, or even for the vast majority of games that I can remember, we've gone in front. And then we've not been able to hold on to it because we haven't then gone and got 2 or 3 or 4. We've kind of got 1 and we've hung on from there. And then we've been pulled back. So I don't really, that's what gives you one hope that no team has dominated us at all. But the frustration is that we should be doing better in game management.
Yeah. Has Smallwood lived up to the billing of the contract?
I think so. I mean, people are always going to grumble about everybody because that's football fans. But, I just think that he gives, he gets the ball. He has plenty of space. He's pulling the strings. His distribution in sometimes could probably be a little bit better, but I'm probably being greedy. I think he's done really well. I think one of his challenges is playing like in the midfield. His midfield partner is somebody who is traditionally been a winger that's playing in centre mid.
Oh, right.
And up until now, I think they got away with it. But this was the first game where that winger, Alex Gilead, truly looked like a winger playing out of position.
Yeah. So is that an area you're going to have to strengthen in January?
I think so. We have somebody called Ryan East that we brought in, who's a young lad that came from Swindon, who has looked, when he's played, he's looked decent. But I wonder if that's somewhere that we need to, if we're really going to up the game, then if I was going to invest anywhere, that's probably where it would be.
Right. And what's next up for you guys? Have you got a home game in the cup?
Yeah, we got Harrogate at home.
Oh yes, yes, Harrogate.
And then we got Mansfield away.
Oh, okay. So
that'll be yeah.
Wow.
That'll be the interesting one. But maybe because it's away from home, I mean, we always have this trouble in League Two. We still haven't really figured out how to make Valley Parade a fortress in League Two.
That's amazes me. Amazes me the fans you have.
Yeah. All these clubs come and they probably know that because our mindset is one that we don't deserve to be here. So as soon as there's a little bit of adversity, they can play into us, and it's just like the same old story every season. Now this year it's certainly been much better than the past few years, but it was the last time we were in League Two as well.
Yeah.
The challenge was always clubs coming to Valley Parade and it being their cup final for the year.
Yeah. That's the thing, is that you go to a Sunderland in League One, you go to whatever. I mean, I always used to moan that we were the other way. We go to a Sunderland, and we don't win at these fucking places. You know what I mean? It's like, the intimidation factor. Until I went during COVID, and it was me and 4 people in a 50,000 all-seater stadium. Do you know what I mean? It was like, but yeah, I hear what you're saying. Look, it's a couple of draws. You didn't lose. That's not a bad habit either. And again, that's a lot for the manager to work on the training grounds. So a good cup win, a good Tuesday night win, and you're back on the pig. You're back on the horse, and you know what I mean. And off you go again.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the table, we've lost 3 from 16.
Yeah, there you go. So you're tough to beat. You're tough to beat.
Yeah.
You know, we're kind of like win lose. You know what I mean? It's like you've got a few draws in there.
We've got 6 draws.
Yeah, we don't really do the draw thing or one or whatever. So it's kind of like, it's what is it, shit or bust or
Yeah, all or nothing.
All or nothing, baby.
I mean, I guess that's what your philosophy, isn't it?
Correctamundo. There's never an in between. It's like, I get all in. That describes me in a casino.
Right.
I get all in, baby. Never change that. You know? Yeah, it's just a philosophy. It's just style. But anyway, moving on. What else we got to talk about?
Yeah, let's go have a little bit of look at the Premier League. And I didn't want to start with your boys, so let's start with Bournemouth and Spurs.
Yeah, great game. Listen, Gary O'Neill's doing a great job. So you know, who knows if the new owner, when he takes over, gives him the job permanently. But they're certainly showing up Scott Parker as a manager, because since he's left, they've been pretty much in every game. So fair play to them. Spurs, obviously, they needed that. They've had a bit of a sticky wicket run, you know, and the natives will get restless that they'd lost that game. But, you know, in all fairness, you'd expect a Liverpool, a Spurs, a Chelsea to go and win at Bournemouth. You know, I wouldn't put money on Liverpool doing that at the moment, but you would definitely, you know, and forget about the 9-0 I'm talking about right now today as we stand, you know. But yeah, so well done, Spurs.
And full credit to Brighton, 4-1 at home to Chelsea. I mean, that was I mean, that was more than a game for Brighton.
I watched Brighton against Man City 2 weeks ago. They were 2-0 down at half time. They came out and they should have been 2-2 in the second half. And then obviously City scored another goal. It was 2-1, then 3-1. But I was really impressed with Brighton. It was the first time I'd seen City not have their usual possession, where Brighton dominated for 20 minutes. So Brighton have got some bloody good players. Like that football club, from recruitment to coaching to philosophy, every player knows their job. They have the new manager. I don't know why he had a sticky run when he came in. Did he try and change something? You know, because if I'm walking in the door, I'm like, listen, everything Graham Potter did, do.
Yeah.
I'm just the manager in name.
Yeah.
Like,
tell me what he did.
Just, I'm watching videos, I'm watching everything. Let's just do exactly the same, you know? And so, listen, I think that was Potter's first loss in the league at Chelsea, for Chelsea. Yeah, I mean, doesn't surprise me. Brighton are a top 8 Premier League team now in every which way. So I'm never shocked when I see a result like that.
No, and hats off as well to Fulham. I know they only got a 0-0 at home to Everton, but you know,
tough to beat.
On the table as well.
Tough to beat. They've learned from the mistakes. They've had a few relegations. You know, the yo-yo thing. You feel if they can get it right for a season, Silva's a good manager. You know, Mitrovic is looking like now a Premier League striker, not just the bully boy in the Championship. Lampard's really, you know, I'm not surprised Lampard's done at Everton because of the defensive signings they made. They're a really tough team to break down. They got some real good experience at the back. They've got England's #1 in goal. Everton had goals in there. You know, they're on the rise. So yeah, moving on. Don't want to talk about Everton too much.
So I have to then move on to your boys in Liverpool.
I feel for Jurgen. I feel for him.
Start?
Where do you start? You start with Joe Gomez. What are you doing? I mean, they're blaming on Alisson tripping. If you watch it back, Gomez didn't even look. It was the arrogance of the pass. Someone to blame Van Dijk or whatever for, you know, he's not expecting, you know, an England defender to make such a stupid mistake. Where I can maybe fault the manager is going behind 8-9 times in games. That has to change. So that's something going on. Lack of intensity, warm up, starting the game. It was like a match too far for some of the players. Harvey Elliott was, you know, very good before, had an off game. The midfielder, Thiago and Fabinho, didn't work. Low energy. Thiago's coming back from another illness and he's just off. Fabinho looks like a 39-year-old version of himself. He's like he's got a tractor on his back. He needs to come out of the team. He's miles off. You know, up front, fairness to Núñez, he missed 2 sitters. It's not like it was a easy win for Leeds. I mean, we did miss chances. I'm not going to go at Núñez, by the way. I still think he'll score 20 goals this season. He's okay. He's a good signing. Salah, scored a goal. Wasn't great for me. Bobby, not good. Where do you start? A rebuild. You know, Jurgen needs now the time. He needs the money. It's a rebuild. If they get the Champions League, it'll be a miracle. The problem for Fenway is it will backfire if they don't get in the Champions League. They're going to lose 100 million in income, and it's looking old. The team's looking old, so they need a rebuild. We've said it before. They need 2, if not 3, new central midfielders. You know, they're going to need another forward. You know, yes, they got Diaz and Jota to come back, but you know something's not quite right. So you just back Jurgen through that. I don't care if they lose another 10 games. You back him. And you just give them the next 2 windows to rebuild. They have to be 2 good windows. They can't waste this because if they wait to the summer to try and address it, you might still be out of Champions League in the second year. They need to go big in January and go big in the summer.
Yeah, and you wonder if Jurgen will have the heart for that.
He'll have the heart for that. I
Yeah.
think because of what's been written about him in his 7-year stints at clubs, I think he wants to book that trend. I actually think he has the heart for it. I'm not sure some of his players do. You know, Kanate needs to come in now. He needs to stay fit. You know, I wouldn't be against dropping Fabinho. I wouldn't be against dropping Van Dijk. I think he needs to shake it up. I think he needs to shake it up a little bit in the
He
team
needs
and
to
go,
show that no one's undroppable.
right. And too many players who are playing below their levels keep getting minutes and keep getting in the team. And you know, I'm a big Trent fan. He's just been way off. This kid from Scotland we brought in, he was meant to be his apprentice. Let's get him fit. Let's get him in the team. Let's see what he's got. You know, January they have to go big. Summer they need to go big. You know, these next 2 windows are going to be so consequential. They have to make 4 to 5 great signings over the next 2 windows, and they need to reshape the squad, and they need to move on from some players. They do, you know, and it's time. You know, Gomez, you know, for me, he's not a top class centre half. You know, he brilliant against Man City, mistake against who was it against Forest, mistake the other night. You know, cost you in 2 games against 2 teams in the bottom 3. And Liverpool of old don't lose to teams in the bottom 3, and to lose at Anfield like that. So yeah, you got to stay with Jurgen. But the next 2 windows, if they don't sign any players in January, that's like malpractice. That's incompetence on the. And I'm not
It's
talking
like
about
giving up, isn't it?
It's forget about this season. It's giving up on next season too.
Yeah.
They need to go big, you know. And when I say go big, they're going to have to spend probably 200 million on 3 central midfielders, you know, to get 3 and then a striker. So they're really going to have to find money they've never had to spend before. I mean, they haven't got a Coutinho this time to sell to Barcelona to go and buy Van Dijk and buy Alisson. You know, they're going to need to, you know, really find the money somehow, because if they don't, they're going to be losing millions in Champions League revenue every year, and players won't come. And the problem you've got is Spurs are on the way back. Chelsea now have a new manager. You know, Arsenal, City are out there on their own. Man United are looking bloody strong all the time now, where they don't concede a lot of goals. And now you throw Newcastle into the mix, who are absolutely flying, and they haven't even flexed their financial muscles. Liverpool could get left behind very quickly, and I don't want to see that happen. And that will be all on the ownership. That won't be on Jurgen Klopp. That will be on the ownership. And you know, the previous recruitment guy is now left. They got a new guy in charge. The pressure's on. Because the other thing is, like, my missus was looking at it in the kitchen while I'm watching and go, geez, they've lost again. And I'm like, yeah, start adding up all the 30-year-olds on the team. Van Dijk's 31. Alisson's now the other side of 30. Milner's 37. Henderson's on the pitch 33. Thiago, I think, is 30, 31. Fabinho's the wrong side of 29. He looks like he's 39. Salah's 30, gone on 31. Bobby Firmino in his 30s. Have I gone? Sorry, Robertson's probably 28. Have I gone through enough, like, 30-year-olds here in a fucking team? Like, are you joking me? You know, that's like, how did you let this happen?
Yeah, there's like nothing coming through.
Yeah, how did you let this happen? With all due respect to Curtis Jones, like, how did you let this happen? Like, you've fallen asleep at the wheel. They've had a magnificent season where they've squeezed every ounce last season out of what they could. And now one summer, the other side of some birthdays, and these players are starting to look the age they are. So, you know, that's a rebuild. And
that could take a long time to turn around as well.
That's a big rebuild. And the other thing is, as well as, I'm just looking at it and going, that's a big rebuild. That's a problem for me. So, look, there's some positives in there. Carvalho, Elliott, that's great. But, you know, they're young players, you know, and you need some higher quality young players. They're great young players. But
they're great to complement you if you've already got a really.
They're not. When I say young player, Harvey Elliott, 6 million from Fulham at 17, 18. Now he's playing in the team. He's not Bellingham. Carvalho, great young player. Again, he's not a Bellingham. He's not a Declan Rice. He's not, you know, these are the kind of players Liverpool now need in that midfield. I'm a massive Jordan Henderson fan. His best years are behind him now. You know, Thiago will play half the season. Fabinho, if this is the now modern day Fabinho and he signed a new contract and whatever else, and this is the energy you're getting out of him, I don't know what's up with him. I'm praying it's just form. But sometimes players drop off a cliff when they get to an age. Van Dijk has just not been himself. Again, you know, he's the other side of 30. So I don't know. You know, there is a rebuild there. And we're going to have to give Jurgen time because he deserves that. And I'll be interested to see, you know, how they go with that rebuild and how he's going to reshape the team. But we definitely need it. And they definitely need a new sports science department because the amount of injuries is absolutely, like, catastrophic. And that happened 2 years ago and it's happening again now. That's recruitment. That's the medicine department. That's two issues, because you're recruiting players with injury records, and your sports science department isn't able to fix those injury issues. So there you go. That's Liverpool. Who else are we talking about?
Another team in trouble. Let's go to the Championship, and that's West Brom. So West Brom lost again at home. I mean, they lost to Sheffield United, so obviously those are no pushovers. But I mean, it's kind of the season's getting a little bit older now, and they're still struggling.
Well, the 2 seasons out of the Premier League, isn't it? So you know your parachute money's drying up. They brought in is it Carlos Corberan? They brought in, is that their new manager?
I didn't see actually. Is that who they brought in? I heard that they were linked with him.
Huddersfield manager.
Yeah,
he's like a Bielsa disciple, so it's going to take time for him. You won't see their best from him until next season. His first season at Huddersfield, I think they were like 16th, 17th. Then they went bang the following season. It's all based on fitness and data. Big club, but they are struggling. But the Championship's the Championship, isn't it?
2 in 17 they've won so far.
Yeah. Well, any other surprises in the Champ this weekend?
Not really. I wanted to just highlight Sami Szmodic scoring for Blackburn.
Delighted for him.
Blackburn second in the table now.
Whenever Blackburn lose a game, I get some Blackburn fans asking for a refund, but he's done all right. He scored a few goals. He's stepped up. They're doing well in the league. I'm not sure why fans would have a go with him. So the one thing about Sammy is he's an honest player. He's honest as the day is long. And I always do smile when I see that he scored again. So delighted for him, and obviously we've got a nice little promotion bonus in there. So keep going.
Yeah, long may it continue. It's funny, we talked about draws versus, having just all in a win or a loss. Well, Blackburn have won 2 more games than anybody else in the Championship. They've won 11 in 18 and they've drawn 0. So they've also lost 7, but it's got them to second in the table.
Keep it up. Keep it up. At the end of the day, let's see where it takes them. But listen, that league's relentless, isn't it? I mean, there was a great win for Birmingham over QPR, which was a surprise result as well. I think Blackpool had another good result at the weekend as well, didn't they?
They did. In fact, when I went to look at the table, I thought I'd see them higher than they actually are. They're 15th at the moment, but that was a good 3 points for them. I mean, it's really pretty close, in that.
Where's Sunderland in the table?
Sunderland is 16th, so just under Blackpool.
It's not gone great since Mowbray's gone in there, is it? Because they were kind of my dark horse tip, weren't they?
And they were, I know it was only a few games in, but they were around the playoffs at that time, weren't they?
Well, I thought they'd be top 10, but obviously they lost Alex Neil, didn't they? So it's a bit of a strange one. Reading still doing okay?
Reading are 11th now, so they've dropped. They've lost 4 in 5. So, but QPR still pretty much going strong. They're third with 30 points. So you got QPR, Sheffield United, Norwich, and Swansea in the playoff places at the moment.
I see.
But what? One thing I actually noted when I looked at the table, there's 10 points between third and 18th. So, I wouldn't. Anyone can finish anywhere at the moment.
Yeah. So, and Carrick's gone into Middlesbrough. It'll be interesting to see how that goes.
Yeah. I don't know. It felt a bit random to me. Was that? How do you make of that?
I think he's coveted as a really good coach. There's been some good people who've come out of Man United, the Salford manager, the Ipswich manager. So they have produced some very good coaches. It's a big job. They went down that route with Woodgate before. So let's see what happens. You kind of expected them to do really well this year and they haven't. So I guess time will tell.
Well, a couple of League One results I just want to bring up. One was Bolton losing at home to Oxford. So, Carl Robinson's been under a lot of pressure, I think, recently. So I think that's a really big win for them.
Massive.
And the other one was which I can't not talk about, which is the Charlton Ipswich game.
Mental.
4-4. Did you see the highlights at all for that one?
Yeah, mental. Absolute mental. Yeah, that was brilliant. To be fair, Charlton on a really, really good run. They're scoring goals. They're getting up the table. Ipswich usually are really, really strong defensively. So that was that really surprised me. But you know what? You could have the best defense in the world and the worst attack in the world. And sometimes football throws up crazy stuff in injury time. When there's like 10 minutes or 12 minutes and there's a goal and then another goal. A bit like Liverpool years ago with Everton, 4-4 in the cup. Every 5 minutes somebody was scoring. Everyone loses their head. I mean, what a game. What an absolute game. So fair play.
Stations.
Yeah, but fair play. I mean, Charlton came from, what was it, 2-4 down or 4-2 down?
They were 4-2 down after 4 minutes into injury time. They were
fantastic characters. So well done to them and their players, So that was a shot. That was a real surprise. There was no other big surprises, was there, in League One this year?
No, not when I go down the results. Well, I mean, Fleetwood got a good 3-0 at Accrington.
Accrington are carrying a lot of injuries, so
Yeah. You mentioned that earlier.
I give him a break for that because they're a decent side, Accrington. So I just think they're having a horrendous run of injuries.
And I think Morecambe getting a point at Wickham as well.
Yeah, Wickham are a bit hit and miss, aren't they? They beat us, they lose to Cambridge. You know what I mean? It's. I don't quite know what's going on there. But again, I always say, we're a third of the season through. It's still early days.
Yeah. And then into League Two, Northampton needed a injury time equaliser at home to Newport. Newport have started doing a bit better, in fact. So let's see, where are they? Well, they're 18th, but it seems like they're starting to get some.
Where's my dark horse tip? Stockport. They won again, didn't they?
Stockport, they're mid-table now. Let's see what their result was at the weekend. Yeah, they beat Sutton 3-0. Sutton had a man sent off after 3 minutes, which never helps the cause.
No,
but no, pretty good day at the office, I think, for Stockport. I wanted to call out Barrow again and Pete Wild. They won 3-0 at home to Crewe. Barrow 5th in the table still.
He won't be there long, will he?
Yeah, I don't think so.
The job he's done, obviously, non-league. Halifax was no. Where was he?
Yeah, it was Halifax. He did a great job at Halifax.
And the players he's produced, the style of football, what he's done now, obviously, phenomenal. I mean, he won't be there long, and that is 100%.
I mean, we looked at him before Mark Hughes, and at that point, it's, can you make that big step up?
You went with the safe bet. You went with a safe bet.
We went with the one that we couldn't believe had applied for the job.
Let's see how it pans out.
I mean, I think where we were, we needed a big name because we needed to.
I get it.
Bring everybody around, but he's done great.
Yeah, I mean, he's a good coach. I'm the type of person I would have gone for him. Do you know what I mean? Only because I've had my fair share of big name managers. Do you know what I mean? Like over the years and whatever else, a couple of them. So the other league we need to mention is non-league. What about Notts County, by the way? The job they're doing, and I believe he used to be the assistant manager to Russell Martin. So the football's very similar. I know when he was on the coaching block last January or whatever else, you know what I mean? And the gaffer was looking for another coach. He was somebody that the name came up in our circles, but he's gone and taken obviously the Notts County job, and they are absolutely blowing teams away, aren't they?
They won 4-0 again on Saturday.
Yeah, 6-1 during the week. I think they won. Was that away?
Yeah, I've only got the form table for the last 5, but they've won the last 5, and they have scored 44 and only conceded 13 in the process.
That's what I mean. And obviously with Wrexham in there as everyone's top dog, if Notts County are, with all due respect to Wrexham, they're a bigger club than Wrexham, in my opinion. They seem to be on the rise. It's just Wrexham's luck. Last year was, Stockport, and now this year suddenly Notts County are on the rise. So that's how that plays out. That's probably going to be done. The only thing that will decide them two teams is probably the games against each other. And Notts County beat them 1-0 a couple of weeks ago. So that's going to be really, really interesting to keep an eye on.
And just shows the difficulty of getting out of the National League.
Oh, they have to have more going up. They have to. That has to change. Has to change. You got to start having 2 up automatically and 1 in the playoffs. It has to change. You know what I mean? So, but I guess that's down to EFL, League Two. But it definitely has to change because that league now really is the 5th division. The quality, the size of clubs in there.
The quality is better than half League Two at least.
I think so. You start going through some of the clubs in there, yeah, absolutely. The size of them. So really interesting how that pans out. I'm becoming a bit of a fan now of the non-league because obviously I watched the whole Wrexham documentary. Yep. So I'm kind of like, an agent friend of mine was like, harping on about the Notts County manager and this, that, whatever. And I was like, well, it's going to be a tall job, with the Wrexham. And so every time Notts County win, I get a text. Here we go again, So, it's going to be interesting. What else we got to talk about?
Let's see. Well, we have let's see what's going on. In fact, I want to bring a question in because I mentioned that Ben and I, one of your scouts had been chatting over the weekend, and he actually threw a question in that I wanted to bring up. Now, he asked, what is your all-time Liverpool Premier League 11? He gave me his and caveated that with, but remember, I'm not a Liverpool fan. So where's your Premier League era 11 for Liverpool?
So it would have to be Alisson. It would have to be Van Dijk, Carragher. It would have to be Robertson and Trent. It would have to be Stevie G and Jordan Henderson. It would have to be, I'll have to play a 4-4-2 to get all the attacking players in. So I'd have to have, as two wingers, I would have to, and this is Premier League. Did John Barnes play in the Premier League? I can't remember.
I think he did.
He didn't play in the Premier League. Barnes, he was my favourite player. Steve McMahon.
It was right before, wasn't he?
Was it? I'd have to go Salah and Mane as two wide players. I'd have to play them there. And then I'd have to go with, I was a massive Robbie Fowler fanboy. Yeah. I mean, he was God, to me back as a kid. I loved Robbie. I would have to go with Robbie, and I would have to go with, let's throw Bobby in there because of what he's done with the front three. Okay. So you got basically like Salah left, or Mane to the left, Salah on the right, Gerrard and Henderson in midfield, and then Bobby and Fowler up front. And the current fullbacks. And then I'd have to put Carragher in there next to Van Dijk with Alisson behind. I think Carragher would have been a much better defender with the style of Van Dijk next to him. I just think he would have given him so much more confidence, even though he didn't have pace. He would have been that bruiser, next to a Van Dijk. So I think that 11 would have been a pretty terrifying 11, So, there's my 11.
All right, so here is Ben's, and you can tell me what you think of this. So he went with, I put it into formation. I think it's a 4-3-3.
Okay.
So Alisson in goal, Carragher and Robertson as your fullbacks. Van
Carragher? Carragher's a fullback.
Well, he's got, I guess this is me maybe putting that, because what he's got is Carragher, Van Dijk, Hippier, and Robertson across the back.
Okay.
McManaman, Alonso, Gerrard across the middle.
I could have gone for Alonso over Jordan Henderson. The reason I went with Jordan is because Jordan's a winner. No matter what you say about him in his career, him as a captain, he's our most successful captain, more so than Gerrard. That's why I put him next to Gerrard.
All right, and then up front we've got Salah, Suarez, and Fowler.
Oh, I love Suarez. I've missed out on fucking Louis, haven't I? I'm taking Firmino out and I'm putting Suarez next to Fowler. There you go. My 11 is the best 11. All right, you got Mane, you got fucking Salah, you got fucking Henderson, Gerrard, and then you got a front two, Robbie Fowler and Luis Suarez. Oh, my God. Oh, my goodness. You play 4-2-4. I mean, that team is just untouchable.
So what was it about Robbie Fowler then for you?
Just unbelievable finisher. I watched, when he made his debut and he scored like 5 goals in the League Cup game against Fulham when he was 17, 18. The best finisher I've ever seen in football. Everyone was on about Harry Kane. If it wasn't for injuries late in his career and issues and whatever else, he would have, held the record. And if he played in a better Liverpool, Robbie Fowler played in Jurgen Klopp's team, he'd have scored 250 Premier League goals. Without a doubt, his fitness would have been better. He probably would have lived better off the field. Players back then to now, it's modern sports science, everything about it. He was just phenomenal. I mean, phenomenal. The 6-minute hat trick against Arsenal, the things he did. And again, he didn't get to play with world-class players throughout that team. Liverpool were in a transition under Souness. I believe he made his debut under Souness. And he was coming into a Liverpool team that, were being surpassed by Man United. They were being surpassed by Newcastle. They didn't have the money to compete. And he was a homegrown player. Owen came a bit later. But Robbie was just like different mustard, honest to God. So he's actually asked me for the job a few times at Posh. He's messaged me and stuff on Twitter about an interview or whatever else. So, but yeah, I love Robbie Fowler. Oof.
I was going to ask you about, actually, I didn't know that he'd messaged you about Posh, but I know that he's always been in the running for our job. So when our job is
fair play to Robbie.
If there's a reason why he hasn't really made it into management in England, because he's managed in India, I think.
He has. He's a fair play to Robbie. He's gone abroad to try and get us. He's gone to Australia. He's gone to India. He's gone for, I take my hat off to him. He would go wherever for a job. He's one of them who doesn't want to sit in a studio. He wants to coach and manage. It hasn't quite worked out for him yet, but it's still early. He's still young. But he has. He's messaged me at times where I've already got a new manager in mind that's coming in. So it's never like I didn't fancy him. I just never got to sit down and talk to him about it because we've already moved on to, well, I'm bringing him in, kind of thing, So I'd like to see him get an opportunity. I'd love to see him get like a Tranmere job down the line, if the job ever came available. Because again, I don't know where geographically he lives or his family, because that's always the other thing in your mind. You take a manager like that, it's so far away from where your family is and your home is. Do you know what I mean? So, but yeah, what a player. I mean, he deserved his nickname of God.
So where did Michael Owen fit? Like, what's the
Love Michael
how
Owen. He just
do you
wasn't
think that's him
durable.
as his post-career? Like, is his legacy the end of his career rather than the beginning of his career?
No, he was phenomenal when he was younger. His pace, that goal against Argentina.
Mhm.
If he was more durable, he'd have been up there with your Messis and Ronaldos because he was that quick, he was that good, he was such a good finisher. He was, I think I saw him score in his debut. He was 17. He was 16 or 17. It was a 1-1 against Wimbledon, at Wimbledon, I believe. Saw him scoring his debut against England. Love Michael Owen. He'd be on my bench. He wouldn't be in that 11, and that would only be from a durability point of view. But prime time Michael Owen, it's a tough one with him and Robbie.
Mhm.
They never could play together, in my opinion. But Suarez would have to be next to one of them. But if you could imagine a front line, of Mane, Salah, Suarez and Fowler, or Suarez and Owen. I mean, Guardiola
You
would
don't need
chase
to
his pants
defend.
over that. Yeah, no,
Yeah, but
that's like the flying football Spurs back in the day, isn't it?
yeah,
It was a kamikaze football, or
the,
Diles.
the old school championship manager formation of 1-4-5.
Oh, love that. Absolutely. Plan B. Plan A's out the window. It's like you're 2-0 down, you got nothing to lose. Yeah. No, that was a great question, to be fair, from Ben. Well done, Ben. Well done, Benjamin.
Now you mentioned there about Messi and Ronaldo, which just triggered something I saw when I was reading this morning before we came on the pod. Inter Miami talking about both of those. Now, do you think that either or both of those would end up in the MLS?
I think either of them could play in the MLS on one leg.
Well, yeah.
And I guess everything's down to a commercial deal. I think
Mhm.
clubs like that are making those deals because the one thing I find out about the MLS is you could put Messi in the team, you could pay him 100 million a year to come, but the team will still be crap because
Right.
unfortunately with the salary cap, you've still got 10 other positions to fill in. So I'm not sure how the whole Galactico one per team works. If you had the MLS made room where you could have 4 in a team,
Mhm.
okay, maybe it's different. How's Bale got on in Los Angeles? Did it make them any
I haven't
better?
really seen much of him. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, they do, but I don't think it's because of Bale.
right. So I don't know. I mean, I can see what Beckham's trying to do. He's trying to get his franchise on the map.
Mhm.
I'm a bit like that about Galacticos for one final payday.
And they start giving away part of the company, don't they? I mean, I think that seems to be part of the deal is they end
you
up
get a
giving those.
license, you get your own franchise, you can do this, you can do that, and it's all a bit. Yeah, you're like selling your soul to the devil, aren't you? And it's usually everyone's having a go at like some of the golfers taking paydays from Live Golf Tour and stuff like that. But yes, I get it for all the human rights stuff, but these footballers going over there, it's to the States. It's almost insulting to the American League. It's like, oh, they're coming here for a payday. They ain't coming here to run 15 miles a game, are they?
And they're not coming to improve the quality of the league over the long term. Like,
Not
there's
for
no
me.
legacy.
No, not for me. It might be a bit of star power for a few months, then it wears
Mhm.
off. And then Messi's in the team losing 2-1 every week. And how's he feeling?
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's how I feel about that one. I don't know. I don't think Ronaldo will go to the States. I still think he thinks he's got one more big move in him.
Mhm.
I think, he will go to a PSG if Messi goes back to Spain, or maybe he'll go, I don't know, he'll go back to Portugal. Maybe he'll go to Italy. Who knows? But you know what? Eventually, you have to start looking past some of the names, the icons. For they are what they are. They're at the end of their
Right.
career. I'm more excited about Haaland. I'm more
Mhm.
excited about Mbappe. I'm more excited about the next generation of young stars that are coming through. So that's how I feel about it.
Now we talked earlier about because we were talking about Efron Clark, and you talked about the
Yes.
intelligence. How do you look or scout for the intelligence of a player? Is that something that doesn't truly become apparent until you're working with them every day, or are there things that you see on the pitch that help you know that he's an intelligent footballer?
There's ways of doing it. My scouts will, I call it the smell test, where I get them to spend a lot of time watching players and warm ups. I get them to
Mhm.
watch them before a game, half time, if they're subs. Are they taking the mick? Are they warming up properly? When they come off the bench, the advice they're getting, see how they go in game formation, if they're relaying instructions, if they know exactly their role. Loads of ways of looking at it. You'll see a player and you'll know if I call them game intelligence or game
Mhm.
dumbness. And some players are terrifically talented, but they got zero football IQ.
Right.
And they're the toughest to coach.
Yeah.
I've had rows with coaches about young players so many times where they just don't get it. And I can't get it across them. And I'm like, well, okay, simplify it. Sometimes young people nowadays need shit simplified.
Mhm.
Don't overload them with info. Maybe minimize the information and see if you can get it across to them. But in-game intelligence is so important. And you'll hear managers talk about it as well, where they trust the player who they give the information to. And other players will just ignore them, and it will cost the team. It will cost the teams. They're not where they should be massively. But you have to have a bit of patience with it if it's a young player. Young people make mistakes. So it's kind of like,
do you learn from that? Your intelligence is around whether you learn from your mistakes.
My old saying in life, never make the same mistake twice. Do they keep making the same mistake? Do they keep not taking the information on board? Do they sit and watch their clips during the week? Because a lot of it nowadays is data and video input. And they all have this as a huddle or whatever, where they get sent their clips. They get sent the opposition. They sit down, and you'll sit with a young striker. You saw it in the Arsenal documentary on Amazon, where they had coaches sitting with the players and go, right, you see what you're doing here. You see what you need to do more of. You see where, you're out here when you should be in here. When the ball's gone out wide and you're still outside the box, actually, we want you on a penalty spot. But not just on a penalty spot, you need to be moving when you're on a penalty spot. These are all the things, and once you have those conversations, the next game, are they taking that information on board? Or, are they making the runs? Is the movement what you want it to be? So there are all those little dynamics. And that's also where, have you got really good coaches who can get that across the players? So again, always very important in a football club, from the academy to the 23s to the first team. How good are your coaches and how good are the players taking on the information? So biggest compliment I can give Efron is, you listen to his interviews, you talk about his patience and his respect for the Rickies and his respect for the Randalls and his respect for Pocus, even though they're younger than him. He's learning, he's watching, and then he gets in the team and he takes his opportunity and he doesn't waste it. And the other thing about him is he rarely wastes when he's in a good area. His head's up, he's looking. Even when he was taken down for a penalty against Akron Stanley, it was a cast iron penalty, he was taken down. The ref's about to blow, he gets back on his feet, Efron, and sees Poku with an open goal and gets it before the ref blows the whistle. Fair play to the ref. It was a brilliant refereeing decision, and we scored. But most players would have been still lying on the floor screaming at the referee. He wasn't. So he's got himself an assist from being intelligent in that moment. That's what I mean about game intelligence. It's good.
Now, we had a question that came in from Steve, which is on a related topic, and it's about the relationship you have with Barnet. Steve was talking about how you brought in a lot of good players, a lot of good young players from Barnet, and he just wondered if you could speak a little bit to the nature of that relationship and how you continue to be able to bring some of that players through.
It goes back to Baz knows Tony Clientos, who owns Barnet for like 30, 40 years. Tony's brilliant. And true Baz, I've got to know Tony. And I have a really good relationship with Tony. When we did the Mason Clark deal, Tony was on screaming at me in a funny way about he wanted extra, he wanted this, he wanted that. And we were having our usual Barney about, sell-ons and add-ons and this, that. But that's Tony. Tony's like me or Barry. He's a wheeler dealer. He wants what's best for his club. Tony feels comfortable doing deals with us. And he always lets us pay over time, which is a big thing for us when we spend on fees. Because he knows Jack Taylor or Ronnie Edwards, and Efron Clark, Tony knows what we can do for Barnet. He knows that Barnet will do well out of that. And it's a relationship that works really well. Ronnie Edwards was potentially going to Brentford when we swooped in and took him and we did the deal. Efron Clark was potentially going, it was the Portsmouth who were very interested. And that was our relationship with Tony. So I can't speak highly enough about Tony. It's why we do preseason friendlies there. It's why I did a really good deal for Canu to go there, who's now scoring goals for Barnet. He's always missed goals from his game, and I think that's the next thing. I think Barnet will turn him into a player that I thought he was when I bought him as a 16-year-old. Tony always has good managers who are tactically very good. And again, he's got one at the moment. So, really, really good football club, really good relationship. I haven't got a bad word to say about Tony. We've gone to war over doing deals, over this, over that. But we'll break bread when we have a friendly. We'll break bread over doing a deal. Just a good all-round guy, good family guy, great club. Yeah, just positive stuff. And they produce some terrific players from their academy that might have come from the Premier League, that might have got into their academy and then kicked on. And
it's a good location, isn't it, for them to pick up?
It's a brilliant location. They have a good eye for talent, but more importantly than that, they coach talent really well as they get older. So that's just kudos to them.
Is that hard for a National League side to invest in? Because, the clamour is to try and put as much money as they can to compete with Wrexham into the first team versus into the youth.
Tony runs his club really well. They've got so many facilities at the Hive. They have, the England team use it. Foreign teams that come in use it. They got medical machines that other clubs don't have. They make good money from that. So, Tony runs it like a business as well as a football club, which is the way every football club should be run. And that's why they can keep doing what they do. A little bit like Colchester. Colchester put all their money into their academy more than their first team, and it pays off. Hence why Robbie and his team, like Barn, have produced terrific young talented players. They are the kind of clubs that they're great clubs to have in football because they do things the right way.
Yeah. Now, talking about Colchester, Colchester right now are bottom of League Two.
Yeah.
How do you not panic when your philosophy is to put money into the youth and not necessarily to direct it all to the first team?
Yeah.
Is there a risk of kind of panicking at this point?
Of course, because if you go out of that league and you're carrying an academy that they have, I think it's Cat 2. They spend millions on their academy, and it would be so unjust if they go out of the league. And you see some of the clubs that would stay in the league.
Mm-hmm.
Colchester do everything right. Robbie Cowling does everything right. He's one of the great owners. So I want them. I look for the results every week.
Mm-hmm.
I want them to do well.
We help them. We give them a win earlier in the season. So I guess that's our bit, our contribution.
Well, I just want them to win and get out of trouble. There are worse teams than them in League Two.
Yeah, you want the ones who are doing it right to be rewarded for doing it right, don't you?
Yeah, correct. The ones that are like crypto based and playing games and doing all of that, and then you see a team like Colchester who just do everything right from a football perspective. There's no justice in football sometimes, so I want it to turn out all right for them.
So you wouldn't invite a couple of people who played in a charity game to training then before your FA Cup match this week?
No, absolutely not. Nope.
All right, last question. James, who's a Huddersfield fan, he says, you'd have seen that Dean Hoyle put Huddersfield up for sale this week, which I actually missed that. That's a surprise for me because, I thought that was a safe pair of hands for Huddersfield.
Good for Dean. I think it's his health.
Yeah.
I think I read somewhere that, Dean loves Huddersfield.
Right.
You cut him open, he bleeds Huddersfield. And I hope he's okay. I hope it's nothing too serious, but maybe he needs to give his body a rest for a couple of years. The stresses and rigors. He's got a lovely family. He's a wealthy guy. Football can hurt you health-wise. Sometimes you need the breather. So I get where he's at. So I hope they get a good owner in there.
Now, it seemed that he stepped in when he sold it, didn't go too well, and he wanted to make sure there was some stability. At the club. Question from James: in Darragh's opinion, are we an attractive club to buy, and what would the buying price be for a club like Huddersfield?
Millions. Absolutely attractive. It's such a well-run club, top to bottom. And I think they bought the stadium back as well, I want to say, to John Smith or whatever it's
called. I'm not sure. I know that it was built by the council, but I don't know.
I think Dean did a deal. I think, it's a well-run club, Premier League in the last 7-8 years, playoff final last year, good recruitment department, millions, absolute millions. People think, what would Huddersfield be worth? North of 30 million, easily, so Dean's not going to sell it to a mug, and he'll make sure that there's a backstop in place like last time where he can step in, because he would never let Huddersfield go into any issues. He's one of the best. He's one of the best owners in the league. So it's going to be a sad day when he leaves, because there's not enough great owners like that in the league that are particularly British. So that'll be disappointing for the Huddersfield fans. But he'll find the right person to go in there. But they'll have to have deep pockets. It's a big club now.
Mm-hmm. How do you rate their chances on survival this year? I think they're second bottom at the moment.
They'll survive comfortably, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think they've had a hangover. They lost a great manager. They lost 2 of their best players. A hangover can sometimes, you don't want it to turn into a catastrophe. But I think they'll be okay. They chose the wrong person to be their manager at the start. Maybe they've got the right guy now. So I think they'll be okay. So I hope they're going to be okay. Because like I said to you, I don't want Dean's last season to be one where they go down. Yeah. After last season. So, God bless to him and his family. I hope he gets healthy.
All right. Well, let's keep it there then for this week. Thank you as ever. And of course, keep those questions coming in. I do have some questions that we didn't get to this week, but I'll keep them on the list for next week. All the usual ways to contact us: email, on social media, via the website as well. So look forward to hearing from you. And Darragh will do same thing, same place.
Take care, guys.
All right. Take care, everyone.